Alright, we are back with another low quality video. I promised in my last one an updated home lab video. So here we go. So I added this monitor. So this is my main workbench monitor, and then my secondary workbench monitor. This one's 1080p. This one's 1600 by 9. Both are HDMI and VGA. And then I have all, DVI to VGA, DVI to HDMI, DisplayPort to HDMI adapters. So no matter what, I could plug it into either of these monitors. I couldn't put the 1080p ones here because they're too wide. So the 1600 by 900s are the only ones I had that would fit without hanging way over. But I still wanted one 1080p monitor so I could, test graphics cards, things like that. I've updated the Wi-Fi, so I've added more access points. I moved the one that was here outside, but then that one got destroyed by a windstorm, so eventually I'm going to put another one out there to replace that because between her library and the kids' playground is where I have the lowest signal, which you can actually see with the new Amada controller with their map software. I had the Mac Mini for making recovery media on legacy devices that don't support internet recovery and for recovering iOS devices. That is my ClearOS server, which I did a dedicated video on, which you can watch if you want more information on that. And then my main NAS Windows deployment everything server. Probably, if I figured out how to do it, I'll probably put an overlay up with the specs right here. 2.5 gigabit Ethernet. Now that switch, I bought brand new. It lasted 6 months. It died. I emailed TP-Link, and they immediately emailed me back, said, "Hey, we found it in your account, and we authorized an RMA." So exchanging it was the easiest exchange I've ever done. Companies like Unify, pretty much all of them should take note because I've never had like that easy of an exchange ever before. So yeah, we got the main server, Intel Xeon. I can't remember the exact model off the top of my head. 12 core, 24 thread. I probably already put the specs up on the screen. Then I moved my tower up here to open up more space. So my laptop sits here. I have 2.5 gigabit USB 3 networking. 2.5 gigabit USB 3 networking on the Mac Mini because this one does have a USB 3 controller. 2.5 gig on this, 2.5 gig on this, and then the fifth 2.5 gig port links back to the gigabit switch. I have my main desktop. That really hasn't changed. Intel Xeon 1660, so 6 cores, 12 threads, 16 gigabytes of DDR. No, 30. I've upgraded it. 32 gigabytes DDR3 1600 quad channel, and then these two 1080p 75 hertz FreeSync monitors, powered by an RX 580. So all this runs off the dedicated 15 amp circuit that was originally designed for, because this was a stove, like the whole stove and kitchen top area that's now my desk. So I just removed the sink and removed the oven. And then down there's where the dogs sleep when they come out here. That's where the pots and pans used to go. And then up here is a dedicated 20 amp circuit that used to feed the microwave that used to sit there. And that feeds these two UPSs, 1000 VA, 600 watts. So one runs 90% of my rack, so that'll run the far one, runs the Mac Mini, there's the router, and the switches. The other one just runs that server. I no longer, they're still there in the old video. I used that radio with Bluetooth, but I stopped, and I just use that soundbar now for the PC audio. Use Snowball microphone, and then I use that mount for video conferencing because I use the Droid X cam, so I use my phone as a webcam. data recovery server, or data recovery workstation rather. So I added a second USB 3 controller to run this. So this and these front USB ports are on one controller, and these front USB 3 ports are on another controller. So it actually greatly increases the transfer speed, especially with my file manager that, as it goes, removes all permissions from, so that you don't have permission issues on the other end when you go transfer it to your new device. Yeah, I think that is it for here. Alright, one thing I knew I forgot to mention, that's why I'm back quick, is the 2.5 gigabit network cards, both the USB 3 ones and the internal ones, all use the same Realtek chip, and Windows likes to load a very poor driver that's very inconsistent with transfer speeds. So I would recommend, whenever you're using these multi-gig Realtek NICs, to go ahead and download their multi-gig driver. So it's a universal driver for the 2.5, the 5, and their 10 gigabit NICs, and it will make your transfer speeds much, much more consistent. So alright, now back to the rest of the video. Alright, so I have a new PoE switch. I still have to run a PoE adapter for the CPE because it's passive only, and I haven't gotten an active to passive inline adapter yet. But these will run passive or active. So I have this one here, and I have that other one out there on the side of the house that's running off of this PoE switch. Also TP-Link, so every switch, every access point is TP-Link. That actually wasn't intentional, that just happens to be they were the best price, the best reviewed when I needed them. So that's pretty much it for the changes. Alright, so I'm going to have to fly through this kind of fast because I already did this once and then all the files were corrupt because AMD Relive, whatever, didn't record it properly. So, let's give this another try. So first, I'm going to remote into my main server, not data. No, I named this NAS because my old NAS I already had batch files and scripts written looking for it by PC name. So when I upgraded to an actual server, I still I kept the PC name the same so that I didn't have to rewrite any batch files. I also set the same static IP for the same reason. So this is the main server. Its main purpose is my NAS, Plex, Windows imaging deployment, so I can install Windows off the network, both Windows 10 Pro and 11 Pro, my Wi-Fi controller, and Active Directory. So I've already done a video on Plex. You can see it's up and running. I have the last video, this server, well, different server, but same name, same purpose. Anyways, that server was running the software, was running my Omada controller, and I updated it recently because that N300 access point finally died, so I was able to upgrade to the newest version of the software. However, that one that died left me a dead zone. Not really dead, but lower signal strength. The lowest signal strength tends to be right here, because that's where right about here I had an access point on a pole. So I am going to have to replace that. I haven't decided if I'm going to move this one, since it's indoor outdoor, to the pole there and install a new AX access point, since I have 2.5 gigabit in the shop. But that's the little map thing. I added this in Paint, like some of it. It lets you go through with the wall tool, and you can make walls and tell it what the thickness is, so it can kind of estimate your signal loss. But like I added the CPEs here, so you can see these two are linked. Two buildings are linked via CPE. And then I currently, until we have fiber in the next couple months, we still have our WISP. So the WISP nano station's here, then it feeds internet to the house. And then I have 3 access points, soon to be 4. So it's the Wi-Fi controller, Plex, Windows deployment, NAS services. I've already listed the specs. Alright, so then we go to, let's do the data recovery PC next, the data recovery workstation. So this is running Windows 10, but I also dual boot with a persistent install of PartedMagic to do data recovery on some more stubborn hard drives. For whatever reason they won't mount in Windows, but they'll mount in Linux. But 90% of the data recovery and data transfers I do are with this. I cannot show you this for NDA reasons, this top secret file manager. Basically, it transfers, when it does its transfers, it removes all the permissions, so you don't have to worry about opening a file on another computer and it's saying that you're not owner, or you don't have permission, you need to take ownership. If you've ever taken a hard drive from another computer and plugged it into a secondary computer or into a hard drive dock, and you're going to open the user directory and it tells you, hey, you have to take ownership of this file folder before you can open it, and then sometimes you have to wait seconds to like a half an hour before it can take ownership of everything. I don't have to worry about that with this file manager. It automatically does it, and it verifies file integrity after the transfer. So all I see is a file list, and I don't even really see much of the file names. So I'm able to do data transfers, remove all the permissions, and verify their integrity without having to open anything, so it protects the privacy of our clients. So that is pretty much it. I can't really show you much here. The Mac Mini. So really the only purpose for this is restoring iPads, iPhones, and media for iMacs and MacBooks that predate the built-in internet recovery. Plus, with the slow internet here until I get fiber, it's a lot faster to restore off a flash drive than it is off a 6 megabit internet connection. So that's the Mac Mini. The Firewall, I've kind of already gone over this once. Or not, yeah, I did an entire video on this. So yeah, this is just basically my router, intrusion protection, virus scanning, all that stuff. So yeah, that's that. And then I also have this. I run BlueStacks, Android VM. I know that Windows 11 now has the Android subsystem, but by default, the only thing you can install is Amazon Store and not Google Play. And the main reason I use this, as it loads, is actually Family Link. So the kids' Pi 400s that are running on Prime OS, which is powered by Android 12, I can actually come on in here and I can lock the devices down, basically ground them from the device from here. I can manage all the apps they install. I can already do that on my phone, but if I'm on my desktop, my phone's charging, I just want to be able to do that on my desktop. So that's really the only reason why I run this. But it is technically part of my home lab since it's how I manage my kids' devices. I think that's it for this video. I'm going to be upgrading to fiber soon, and the CPE link between the house and the shop will be updated to one of the 800 megabit ones. So I will probably do separate videos for those two. And I am going to do a year later look at the review of the Pi 400s, the operating systems we've tried, and why my kids love Prime OS and why that's the one that became the new permanent OS for it. And that concludes this low quality video, and I'll see you in the next one.